Hey everyone, it's Carla from the Medicine Hat Public Library. I'm here today with another STEAM Saturday for you. STEAM is a concept of science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics that we do a bunch of different fun projects around, and we usually learn a little something at the same time. So today we are going to be looking at density and making your very own lava lamp. And for this project, you are going to need vegetable oil and water. You're going to need food coloring, and I suggest using a darker color like green or red or even blue, but do not use the yellow because since the oil is already a yellow color, you won't see it very well. You are going to need an empty bottle to make your lava lamp in, and then you're going to need something called Alka-Seltzer, and that is going to create the bubbles in your lava lamp, and you can find that in a denture cleaner. So I have some of that right here. And we are going to be mixing this together and looking at the science of why it creates that lava lamp experience. So the first thing we're going to do is take our water, and we are going to fill our container about a quarter full of water. So just like that. And then you're going to fill the rest of the bottle with oil. And I'm going to use this funnel so I don't spill oil everywhere. Alright, you're going to fill that all the way to the top, and then you're going to want to let the oil and water settle. So you'll see that the oil sits on top of the water. And that is because it is less dense than the water. The oil and water do not mix because of something called intermolecular polarity. And that basically means that the water molecules are attracted to the other water molecules and they'll bind together. And the oil molecules are attracted to the other oil molecules and they will bond together. But the structures of the two different molecules, the water and the oil, are different and they do not allow them to bond to each other. So they will stay separate, just like you see here. And now that this has calmed down and all the oil's on the top and our water's on the bottom, I'm going to add in some food coloring. And I'm going to add about 10 drops of this right in there. And you'll see it stays in the bubbles and drops down into the water. So it also does not mix with the oil because food coloring is mostly water. And you'll see once it hits the water at the bottom, it expands and those molecules start mixing with the other water molecules. So I'm going to give this just a little bit of a shake just to get all that green kind of dispersed in the water. Just like that, and you can see now that the water has turned green because the food coloring molecules, which are mainly water, have mixed with the water molecules at the bottom. And you'll see there's a couple little bubbles of food coloring that still have to mix, but slowly they will mix in there. And so the fun part of this is adding in the Alka-Seltzer. This is what's going to create the bubbles and make this look like a lava lamp. So when you add the tablet, it'll sink to the bottom and it'll create a gas. And the gas will create a bubble and it'll take some of the colored water up to the top. And then once that bubble breaks, the gas leaves the bottle, but the water is still in there and the water will drop back down through the oil, creating the lava lamp effect. So let's give that a try. And I'm going to just take my little tablet, I'm going to break it into a couple pieces and drop that in. And it might take a little second to dissolve. So let's take a peek. And you can see bubbles are starting to go to the top as this dissolves. I don't know if you can see that, but there is bubbles floating to the top, and you can see that they're coming all the way from the tablet at the bottom. It isn't picking up the color very much. So I am going to dump in a few more drops of my food coloring just to make it nice and saturated. And I'm going to dump in another tablet of the Alka-Seltzer. And I'm going to leave this one in bigger chunks. There you go. Now you can start to see the bubbles are picking up that green color and definitely looking like a lava lamp. So cool. So, as you can see, the oil and water stay separated. And then just to go over it once again, the Alka-Seltzer creates a gas and pulls up that colored water in a bubble. And then as the bubbles pop at the top and the gas is released, the water is still in there and it drops back down to the bottom. And this just continuously goes in this cycle. And this is something fun that you can do some experiments with, because when you're done with it and your tablet has stopped fizzing, you can put the lid on this and you can do this over and over and over again. But one thing that you can change up is you can look at temperature. What if you make yours really warm, put it out in the sun before you do this, or put it in the fridge and make it really cold and then do this experiment. You can see how that affects the bubbles. You can try it with the lid. When you screw on the lid, will it still work? Will that gas have anywhere to escape when those bubbles pop? And you can look at the size of the tablet. If you break up really small pieces of your tablet and put it in versus putting in a whole tablet, will the size of your bubbles be different? And how would it look in a different sized bottle? So I used a fairly small bottle, but you could use a bottle, a big 2-liter pop bottle or something like that, and see how that affects it. Of course, you would need to use more oil and more water for that. This little one I think is a pretty cool size, and I will get a close-up shot for you guys because it does look really cool. It has a bunch of little teeny tiny bubbles. And some are darker green than others, some are lighter green. It's really neat. It's starting to get a little bit of foam up at the top, kind of all that little escaped gas is kind of creating some bubbles at the top of it as well. And I think I am going to do one experiment. I am going to put in a full tablet. I'm not going to break it this time. The last two I broke into about 3 pieces. I'm going to try putting in a full tablet and see what happens. So I'm going to drop that right down there. I want to see if I get some bigger bubbles. Oh, you could even look at what I'm noticing right now is the speed of the bubbles, how fast they are rising and falling with the different size tablet in there. So again, this is something that's really fun, really simple. You can put the lid on it and store it for later. You can do an experiment and see what happens when you leave the lid on it and see if it'll still create that lava lamp effect. So if you do this, as always, send us a picture, tag us in your videos. We would love to see how yours turned out. If you want to find more fun videos, check out our YouTube page at MHPublicLibrary. Thanks for joining me. See you again next time. Bye.